Learn English with Podcast Part 1. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the King English Podcast. My name is Tom. Today, we are talking about the topic, Stop Overthinking, Speak English Fluently. This is your English listening practice podcast to help you learn and improve naturally. How can you stop overthinking when you try to speak English? Most learners face this problem. They get stuck in their heads. They try to make everything perfect before they say a word. When they overthink, they sound stiff, strange, or even say things that do not make sense. It is like the brain is working too much, but the mouth freezes. This is a common problem. Here is the good news. You do not have to be perfect to speak English well. In fact, the key to speaking with confidence might be simpler than you think. I am Emily, and I am Liam. This is English and Comfort. It is the place where you can learn English while you relax, lie down, or even while you sleep. No pressure, no stress. Just natural English and interesting topics. Today, we are talking about how to stop overthinking and start speaking. Share practical tips and examples you can try right away. If you have ever felt stuck in your head while speaking, this is for you. Let us start. Why does overthinking happen in the first place? For most learners, it comes down to one thing: the fear of making mistakes. They focus too much on sounding perfect. They think about using the right words, the right grammar, and the right pronunciation. But they forget the most important thing. It is getting the message across. When you focus too much on being perfect, you actually make more mistakes. Instead of thinking about what you want to say, you are thinking about how to say it. Example. Listen to this. I go to park yesterday and see many dog. Even though Liam made some mistakes, I still understood what he meant. He wanted to say he went to the park and saw dogs. The message was clear, even if the grammar was not perfect. That is the point. As long as your message is clear, it does not matter if you make a few mistakes. Here is another example. Let us say, I am trying to say, I am going to the store to buy some milk, but instead I say, I go store for milk. Again, even though it is not perfect, you still understand. I am going to the store to buy milk. The message is there. The takeaway is that making mistakes is not a big deal. If you focus on your message, people will understand you. The more you practice, the fewer mistakes you will make over time. But while it is okay to make mistakes, we also want to help you stop overthinking and start talking. So, how do you do that? Let us start with our first tip. Slow down. Many people overthink because they feel they must speak quickly. They think if they do not respond fast, they have failed. But that is not true. In real life, there is no timer. No one is waiting with a stopwatch for you to answer in 2 seconds. Take your time. When you slow down, you have more time to think about what you want to say and how to say it. Speaking slowly makes you sound more confident, not less. If you speak too fast, you may sound nervous or stressed. If you slow down, you sound calm and in control. If you are practicing alone, you can take as long as you want. Who cares? As long as you are practicing, you are improving. Here is a good trick. Whether in conversation or practicing alone, start with something like well or hm, or repeat part of the question. If someone asks, "What did you do last weekend?" you can say, last weekend. This gives you extra seconds to think while sounding natural. This also works when you practice alone. Like when you narrate your day. You can say, "Well, today I went shopping," and then take your time to think about the next sentence. No one is rushing. You dot it is a simple trick, but it makes a big difference. It takes the pressure off and lets you focus on your message instead of your speed. Now, let us talk about another tip to help you stop overthinking. Break the ice with simple phrases. Sometimes, overthinking happens because you do not know how to start a conversation. You think, "What should I say? How do I begin?" That is where simple phrases help. If you have a few go-to phrases ready, it takes the pressure off. You do not need to think hard. Just use one of the phrases and let the conversation flow. For example, if you are talking about a movie, you can say, "What do you think about that movie?" It is simple, natural, and it starts the conversation. If you are not sure about something, you can say, "I am not sure, but I think." This is a good way to share your opinion without feeling you must be 100% correct. It is casual and comfortable. Another phrase is "that is interesting. Can you tell me more?" This works well when you want to hear more details. It shows you are interested and keeps the other person talking. You can also use these phrases when practicing alone. For example, if you are talking to yourself, you can say, "What do I think about this?" or "I am not sure, but I think." It is a great way to practice thinking and speaking without overthinking. Part 2. Understanding the impact and expert insights. When the tremor hit, most New Yorkers were caught completely off guard. Many described feeling a sudden jolt, followed by a gentle but noticeable shaking that lasted just a few seconds. It wasn't the kind of violent earthquake you might see in California or Japan. But for a city where earthquakes are extremely rare, the sensation was unforgettable. Emergency phone lines lit up almost immediately. The city's 911 center received hundreds of calls within minutes, with people asking if there had been an explosion, a subway malfunction, or even a building collapse. Social media exploded with short videos and quick posts. Some people were filming their coffee cups trembling on kitchen tables, while others showed ceiling lights swaying in apartments and offices. Despite the shock, authorities quickly reassured the public that there were no immediate reports of injuries or significant damage. Bridges and tunnels were inspected as a precaution, and subway services continued with only brief delays. Still, the event left many wondering, how is it possible for an earthquake to strike a city like New York? To understand that, we have to look beneath the surface, literally. According to seismic experts, New York City sits on ancient bedrock that can carry vibrations for long distances. Even a relatively small quake, centered dozens or even hundreds of miles away, can still be felt strongly here. This particular earthquake, preliminary reports say, measured around insert magnitude on the Richter scale and was likely centered in insert nearby region, if known. What's fascinating is that earthquakes in this part of the United States don't behave the same way as they do on the West Coast. On the East Coast, the ground tends to be more solid and less fractured, which means seismic waves travel farther and faster. That's why a moderate quake in this region can be felt across several states. Scientists have been studying the fault lines in and around the New York area for years. While there's no major tectonic plate boundary here, smaller faults do exist, and they can still produce noticeable quakes from time to time. The last significant one felt by many in the city was in insert year, and before that, you'd have to go back decades for a similar event. For experts, this earthquake is a reminder that even places far from the world's seismic hotspots can experience sudden and unexpected tremors. For residents, it's a story they'll remember for a long time, a moment when the ground beneath one of the busiest cities in the world decided to move. Part 3. What to do during an earthquake in NYC. When an earthquake strikes, every second counts. And the truth is, most people in New York don't have a mental earthquake plan because it's simply not something they expect. But, as we've just seen, rare doesn't mean impossible. So here are a few essential tips that experts recommend if you ever feel the ground start to shake. If you're indoors, get down low, take cover under a sturdy piece of furniture like a table or desk, and hold on until the shaking stops. This protects you from falling objects, which are often the biggest hazard in an earthquake. Glass can shatter quickly during tremors, so keep a safe distance from windows, mirrors, and anything that could break. If the power goes out or cables are damaged, elevators can become dangerous traps. Use the stairs only after the shaking has stopped and you're sure it's safe. Avoid being near buildings, streetlights, or anything that could collapse. Falling debris is a major risk in urban environments. Look out for gas leaks, damaged electrical lines, or unstable structures. If you suspect damage, report it to authorities. Immediately in the hours after this recent NYC quake, many people were asking, is this the start of something bigger? The answer from seismologists is reassuring. Most small to moderate earthquakes in this region do not lead to larger ones. However, they do serve as important reminders to be prepared. Preparedness doesn't have to be complicated. Having a small emergency kit with bottled water, a flashlight, batteries, and a first aid kit can make a big difference. Storing important documents in a safe, accessible place is also a smart move. And perhaps most importantly, remember that information is power. In a connected city like New York, official updates travel fast, but so do rumors. Always get your information from reliable sources like the U.S. Geological Survey, the city's emergency management office, or trusted local news outlets. While this earthquake may fade into memory in a few days, the experience has already left its mark. It's a story New Yorkers will tell about that strange moment when the ground beneath their feet reminded them that even a city built on rock is not completely still. So whether you felt it in your apartment in Manhattan, in your office in Brooklyn, or miles away in New Jersey, one thing is certain: the earth had something to say. And for a few seconds, the whole city listened.